Tessa's chains clinked with every step she took. The sound echoed off the smooth metallic walls of the alien facility as she was led through the complex, her collar tightened just enough to ensure her compliance. The alien guards, with their reptilian features and gleaming scales, watched her closely, their eyes filled with condescension. They didn't believe she could understand them, but they couldn't be more wrong. She knew exactly what they were thinking. She had no intention of letting them know that, of course. Tessa was smarter than these alien overlords, and she made it a point to play along with their expectations. They thought she was weak, no, beneath them, but they didn't know a thing about human resilience, nor did they grasp the power of a good joke. She'd learned quickly that their sense of humor was about as developed as their moral compass, non-existent. She had them right where she wanted them. "Entertain us, human," one of the guards growled, his elongated snout twitching as he motioned toward the large, hollow arena in front of them. Tessa rolled her eyes, a small smirk curling on her lips. "Sure, whatever you say, Green Bean." She could already see the confusion in their eyes. Alien humor wasn't exactly universal. The arena was their version of a cage match, but with no fighting involved, just her humiliation. The aliens thought it was hilarious when she struggled to perform the simplest of tasks, like juggling glowing balls that defied the laws of gravity, or attempting acrobatics with her hands still bound. They thought it was amusing when she pretended to fail, and it never occurred to them that she was using every moment to her advantage, subtly twisting their minds with offhand remarks and sarcastic commentary. "Why don't you try a little harder, sweet cheeks?" Tessa said to one of the larger guards, her voice dripping with mock sweetness. The guard froze, his scales rippling as though he was uncertain whether to laugh or be insulted. That was the beauty of human humor. It confused the hell out of these guys. A chuckle escaped his lips, and Tessa gave him a wink, enjoying the confusion playing out across his face. They had no idea how vulnerable they were to her wit. 4 days she'd been doing this, deliberately misdirecting their attention and steering their thoughts to the most absurd, illogical places, all the while pretending to be a broken, compliant animal. They thought she was tame, docile, easily controlled. But in reality, she was setting the stage for a much more interesting game. When the alien leader entered, she could feel the change in atmosphere. He was their prized commander, the one who orchestrated the humiliations. She'd been dreading this moment, but it was time to turn the tables. "You amuse us, human," the leader said, his deep voice vibrating in her chest. "But your antics have become predictable." She raised an eyebrow. "Predictable? You've got to be kidding me. What's next? You going to bring in more circus animals?" The leader's narrowed eyes glinted. "Your humor is crude. And frankly, beneath our kind." "Ah, yes," she said. "Because only superior beings can appreciate humor, right? That's why you guys are so good at not laughing at anything even remotely funny." He hissed in frustration. "Enough. You will learn to obey, or we will punish you." Tessa shrugged. "Punish me? Go ahead, big guy. You've been doing it for weeks, and somehow I'm still here. I'm still standing. Maybe you're just not that good at it." The leader seethed. Tessa could see the gears turning in his mind, trying to process her words. It was all part of her plan, get them to underestimate her further, and then strike when they least expected it. But that wasn't the most entertaining part of the day. Oh no. She'd been waiting for the moment when the human mercenary, the one who'd been hired to rescue her, would arrive. He was her ticket out, but she wasn't about to make it easy for him. She needed to see if he had the same sense of humor she did, if he could handle the ridiculousness of her situation, and keep the aliens distracted long enough for her to escape. And that's when she heard it, the unmistakable sound of a blaster shot, followed by the screeching of alarms. The leader turned, his attention momentarily diverted. "Looks like we're not alone," Tessa muttered under her breath. Finally. Her heart raced, not with fear, but with anticipation. The moment of freedom was here. She could feel the rush of adrenaline, her muscles primed for action. She'd spent days making these aliens laugh at the wrong things. Now, it was time to make them laugh their way into a trap. The door behind her slammed open, and in walked the human hero, a space mercenary with a reputation for being reckless, charming, and most importantly, extremely capable. He wore a cocky grin, his eyes scanning the room. His gaze landed on her, and for a moment, their eyes locked. "Seems like you're in a bit of a bind, sweetheart," he called out. Tessa grinned. "You have no idea, but I'm guessing you're the one who's supposed to save me, right?" "Save you?" He laughed. "Nah. I'm just here for the entertainment. You seemed like a good investment." "Of course, you're here for the entertainment," she said, voice dripping with sarcasm. "Because who doesn't love a good rescue mission mixed with a dash of humor?" He chuckled, pulling out a blaster and taking down a few guards with practiced ease. The leader lunged at him, but the mercenary shot him point blank in the chest, sending him crashing to the ground. "Humans," Tessa said, rolling her eyes, "always thinking they can just solve problems with violence. It's almost cute." She could see the mercenary's mouth twitch as he fought the urge to laugh. "You're a bit of a handful, aren't you?" "Only for those who don't get it," she replied. "You're doing great, though. Keep the jokes coming. These guys could use a good laugh, might actually do their heads some good." With a grin, he moved to her side, carefully cutting through the chains. "You're not exactly what I expected. I was told you were some helpless damsel in distress." Tessa raised an eyebrow. "You've got the wrong impression. It's not the distress that's the problem, it's the lack of creativity." As the last chain fell away, she stretched her arms. "All right, let's blow this joint, and make sure you don't mess up my exit strategy. These guys are great for entertainment value, but I've got bigger plans." Tessa's mind was racing, even though her body was locked in place. The aliens had no idea what they were dealing with. They thought they were in control, that they had her exactly where they wanted her. But they didn't understand human determination, or the power of humor. It was all about timing, psychology, and taking advantage of every opportunity. As one of the aliens moved closer, she adjusted her posture, pretending to be defeated, like a caged animal. The bigger one, the leader, towered over her. He grinned, showing a row of sharp teeth that could shred her in seconds if he wanted. He loved to taunt her. "Is that all you've got, human?" he crooned, his voice dripping with mockery. Tessa met his gaze and smiled sweetly. "No, but that's all you'll get. Trust me, you wouldn't want to see my best tricks. I've been holding back for your sake." The guard blinked. Tessa could tell from the subtle twitch in his eyes that he didn't understand why she wasn't broken yet. It was a small victory, but it was something. The other aliens chuckled, clearly misunderstanding her words. They thought she was just a pet, a source of amusement, but to them, the concept of humor was something primal. They didn't see the depths of her intelligence. They saw her as weak, a helpless creature caught in their web, and that made her power all the more dangerous. Her powers weren't physical, not in the sense the aliens understood. But humor, it was the one thing they couldn't handle. Their minds couldn't process it. They were so accustomed to command and control, to logic and precision, that they couldn't understand the art of a well-timed joke, the sting of sarcasm, the clever twists of a punchline. She continued to play the part, leaning into their expectations. The guards jeered at her as she fumbled with a fake weapon they had given her to entertain them, laughing when she pretended to trip over herself. "Nice try, human," one of them sneered. But she knew what was coming next. It was always the same. They would ask her to perform some ridiculous stunt, and she would pretend to struggle, knowing that each slip-up made them think she was incapable. Each failure pushed her one step closer to her ultimate goal, getting under their skin. "You want me to juggle again?" she asked sweetly, raising an eyebrow. "Sure. But I hope you've got a good laugh left in you. After all, I've got a routine that'll knock you out of your scales." The leader snorted, clearly amused, and motioned for her to proceed. "Entertain us. Show us what humans can really do." Tessa gave a mock salute and stepped forward. She wasn't going to play their game. Instead, she would change the rules. Without missing a beat, she flicked a finger at the glowing balls. They floated into the air, bouncing gently on the force field surrounding the arena. "Now I bet you think I'm about to fall flat on my face," she said, her voice oozing sarcasm. "Well, that's where you're wrong, because you've never seen a human juggle with finesse. Watch and learn." She closed her eyes, focusing on the balls in the air, but instead of performing the routine they expected, she let the glow of the orbs reflect off the surface of her mind. She allowed herself to channel her ability, guiding the balls to levitate higher, causing the alien guards to tilt their heads, confused. "Is this part of the act?" one of them asked, watching intently. Tessa's lips twitched into a grin. "You could say that. I'm not just an entertainer, boys. I'm an artist." The aliens didn't know what hit them. For a brief moment, they stood frozen, completely caught off guard. She'd altered their perceptions, and they didn't even realize it. They believed they were witnessing an ordinary trick, but in reality, she had just woven a subtle suggestion into their minds, making them see what she wanted them to see. The balls now danced in the air, performing a perfect loop, but the aliens were so enthralled by the spectacle that they forgot they were supposed to be controlling her. They thought they were in charge, that they could laugh at her, make her the clown. But the truth was she was using them. Each giggle, each taunt, was a stitch in the web she was weaving, and soon enough, they wouldn't even realize they were tangled in it. "You like what you see, huh?" Tessa said, still performing the trick, but now her voice took on a deeper, almost sultry tone. "Well, I'm just getting started. Stick around, and I'll show you the real talent." The leader's eyes narrowed, clearly starting to feel the heat of the situation. But he was a fool. He was too arrogant to recognize that Tessa wasn't just a human. She was a human with power, and that was something no alien, no matter how advanced, could handle. The audience of aliens shifted uneasily as Tessa continued to work her charm. With each second, they were becoming more entranced by her presence. The cracks in their composure were starting to show. Tessa knew that her time was coming. Soon, they would slip up, and when they did, that's when she would make her move. They had no idea that she was already in control. They just didn't know it yet. "All right, guys," she said with a wink. "Let's wrap this up. I've got a date with Destiny, and trust me, she's got a sense of humor." The aliens laughed again, too ignorant to see what she was really doing. But that was fine. Let them laugh. She wasn't here to entertain them forever. She was here to take back her freedom, and make them regret ever underestimating a human's sense of humor. The rest of the arena faded into the background as she locked eyes with the leader. It was all about timing now. And she had plenty of time. Tessa had spent the last few weeks perfecting her act, weaving in subtle manipulation with every sarcastic quip and offhand comment. But today, she sensed something different in the air, a change. It was the moment she had been waiting for. The human mercenary was coming. She could feel it in the way the guards had been more on edge than usual, their movements jittery, their voices snapping at one another in an unfamiliar language. They didn't know it yet, but their days of treating her like a plaything were numbered. She had to make them believe they still had the upper hand, though. She couldn't afford to blow her cover now. As one of the aliens approached, ready to give her another command performance, she played the part, lowering her eyes and letting her shoulders sag as if she were too tired to even lift a finger. It was all about the build-up, the suspense. He spoke to her like she was a dog being ordered to roll over, demanding that she perform one of her typical tricks. But as always, there was a twist to the game. She forced a half-hearted laugh. "Really? You want me to juggle flaming rocks again? That never gets old. But you should probably throw in some rubber chickens next time, just to mix it up." She flung her arms in the air with exaggerated flair, as if she were dramatically exhausted from the whole situation. The alien guard, thick-headed and blind to the sarcasm, let out a throaty chuckle, clearly thinking that she was playing along. "Do it, human!" he barked, motioning toward a glowing sphere suspended in midair. But Tessa didn't move. Instead, she smirked, letting the silence hang between them for a beat longer than necessary. "Tell you what," she said slowly, her voice now laced with honeyed malice. "You want entertainment? I'll give you a show. But it's going to cost you." She leaned back slightly, her eyes locking with his in a challenge. The alien's expression faltered, momentarily confused by her audacity. He had expected obedience, not negotiation. The others around him shifted, murmuring among themselves. "You dare?" he started, but Tessa cut him off, raising a finger to silence him. "Yes, I do dare. But if you want me to dance like a monkey for you again, you better throw in a few extra perks. A real show requires some luxury, right?" Her tone was dripping with mock sweetness now, as though she were offering a favor. "Let me guess, you'll start offering me better food first. You'll give me a little more room to stretch my legs. Maybe even a nice blanket so I'm not laying on this cold floor. Deal?" The absurdity of her request struck the alien like a slap in the face. He blinked, unsure if she was playing some kind of game, or if she had truly lost her mind. "You think you have leverage?" he snarled, his grip tightening around the control device strapped to his wrist. Tessa just smiled, tilting her head with a teasing wink. "Oh, I'm pretty sure I do. After all, you know what they say, give a human a cookie, and they'll show you a dance. But deny them a cookie, and they'll make you regret it." The alien's hand trembled for a moment, and for the first time since her capture, Tessa saw a flicker of doubt cross his face. He wasn't sure how to handle this. He was used to brute force, not this, psychological warfare. She leaned forward, eyes narrowing with the thrill of the game. "What's the matter, tough guy? Can't handle a little negotiation? Fine, I'll settle for some basic decency then. How about you actually talk to me like I'm an intelligent being, instead of some broken pet? Or is that too much to ask for?" The tension was palpable, the guards around her shifting uncomfortably. She was playing a dangerous game, but it was one she had mastered. They didn't understand the power of human wit, but they were about to find out. The leader of the alien group finally growled and motioned for the others to back off. Tessa didn't relent, her eyes still locked onto his. She had pushed him to the edge, but now, she had to make the next move. As he turned to leave, Tessa's voice rang out, sweet as ever. "Oh, and by the way, next time you think of torturing me for fun, remember, humor's a two-way street, darling. If you keep treating me like I'm beneath you, I might just make you wish you had treated me like a queen." He didn't respond. He didn't need to. The seeds of doubt had already been planted. But the mercenary, the human who was about to come to her rescue, he was the wild card. Tessa could only hope he wasn't too late, or too inept to appreciate her sense of timing. Because if he screwed this up, she would be back to playing the role of the submissive pet, and she wasn't sure how much more of that she could take. But for now, she sat back in her chains, playing the part of the broken, defeated human as the aliens slowly retreated. The act was far from over. The alien guard's eyes narrowed, confusion flickering across his scaly face as he tried to process her words. He was used to commanding obedience, not bargaining. His species didn't understand the concept of a challenge unless it involved violence, and yet here she was, offering something different, something they could neither control nor predict. "Cost?" The guard spat, his voice thick with disdain. "You are a slave. You have no bargaining power." Tessa's lips curled into a sly grin. "Well, you're about to learn just how much power I have, sweetheart." She leaned back, giving the guard a long, appraising look. Her mind was already racing with possibilities. The mercenary had to be close now. He was out there somewhere, maybe even in the walls. If the rumors were true, he could slip past any guard, breach any system, and get to her without making a sound. She just had to hold their attention long enough. "I'll tell you what," she continued, her tone taking on a theatrical flourish. "You want me to entertain you? Fine. But first, you need to loosen these chains. I can't juggle flaming rocks if I can't even move my damn arms. And if you think this little collar is going to stop me from doing anything, you're sadly mistaken. You'll get the show of a lifetime, and if you're lucky, I might even throw in a kiss at the end. But I need a little bit of freedom to work my magic." The guard's reptilian face twisted with anger, but he was clearly intrigued. He'd never seen a slave act this way, never encountered a human with the audacity to speak to them like this. He turned to his fellow guards, muttering something in their language, though it was clear they were all on edge. They didn't know how to respond to this new development. Tessa kept her gaze fixed on the leader, locking eyes with him in a challenge. She wasn't afraid, not even a little. If anything, the more they underestimated her, the more she could manipulate them. And every second she kept them off balance was one step closer to the mercenary making his move. "I'm not here to play your games anymore," she said, her voice dropping into a dangerously low tone. "You want to see real entertainment? Let me show you what happens when you underestimate a human. Let me show you what happens when you treat us like toys." The alien guard bristled, his sharp teeth flashing in anger, but before he could retort, a sudden crash rang out from behind him, followed by the unmistakable sound of someone, or something, dispatching the guards with military precision. The leader froze, his gaze snapping toward the source of the noise, and that was all the opening Tessa needed. In an instant, she twisted in her chains, kicking the guard in the stomach with as much force as she could muster. The alien staggered back, shocked by the sudden action, and before he could react, she grabbed one of the chains from her shackles and whipped it toward him. The iron links wrapped around his neck, pulling him down with a grunt of surprise. "Guess I wasn't as helpless as you thought, huh?" she said, her voice dripping with satisfaction. Just as the leader struggled to free himself, a figure emerged from the shadows. The human mercenary, tall, broad-shouldered, and impossibly calm, appeared like a specter in the chaos. His eyes locked onto hers with a flicker of recognition, a brief moment of unspoken understanding. "Glad you decided to join the party," Tessa quipped, winking at him. "You're just in time for the finale." The mercenary raised an eyebrow, smirking as he swiftly took out the remaining guards with surgical precision. It was clear that he had been watching her the whole time, admiring the way she'd handled the situation. And now, they were a team, a human mercenary and a human captive who had turned her captivity into a masterclass in psychological warfare. Together, they made quick work of the alien leadership, with Tessa cracking jokes and delivering one-liners at every turn, her humor cutting through the tension like a hot knife through butter. The aliens, despite their advanced technology and brute strength, were no match for the human combination of wit and willpower. When the last of the guards fell, and the alien leader lay unconscious at her feet, Tessa finally allowed herself a breath of relief. She straightened up, brushing off the dust from her prison rags, and turned to the mercenary. "So, what's the plan now?" she asked, her tone light, teasing. "You just going to carry me off into the stars, or do I get to join in on the next fight?" The mercenary chuckled, stepping closer. "We're just getting started, sweetheart. You've got a lot of fight left in you. I can tell." Tessa grinned, the taste of victory sweet on her lips. "Oh, you have no idea. But I'll let you in on a little secret. Human humor is the most dangerous weapon in the galaxy. And I'm just getting warmed up." The mercenary's smile widened. "Then let's make sure we break a few more chains along the way." And with that, they turned and walked off together, their laughter echoing through the alien stronghold, a testament to the power of humor, the resilience of the human spirit, and the undeniable bond between two humans who had survived against all odds.